Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into Judgment Day. And in this one, a lot of people are gonna die. And with everything that we've seen so far, and especially with what happens in this one, it's really feeling like one of those events where things can't go back to normal. And shout out to Dominic who mentioned that in the comments of the last video, because it had been like in the back of my mind for a while, but after he said that, I can't stop thinking about it. But enough of the intro talk, let's get into this. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch us spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so at this point we are coming in hot from the progenitor giving its judgment and giving the entire world a big thumbs down. And even after what I would say was a very reasonable solution that was presented by Eros, with him not only suggesting that the world could work together, but providing a tangible start alongside of that proposal. But of course, like any start, it would take time for this to develop, and the progenitor's like, nope, ain't giving you no more time, as it continues to judge the world as it is. Which on one hand, I get it, because we've seen a number of times over that it's impossible to get billions of people on the same page. And it almost reminds me of a quote that I heard in an old movie, and I'm sure one of you guys will pick it up and tell me in the comments where it came from. But I remember hearing someone say somewhere that the world would never come together unless there was like an alien invasion. And in a lot of cases, the only chance that people would come together is if they had to. And though that's saying it isn't one-to-one with this whole event, but there's a lot of moments in this event that remind me of that. And hopefully one of you guys can tell me in the comments where that quote came from, because I know I didn't make it up. But at this point, after the progenitor has given his judgment to the world, and with doing so deciding that the whole world has failed, from here forward, judgment is over and the sentencing begins. But with how this goes down, we do take a moment again and travel to different parts of the world, and we check back in on the different faces we've been seeing throughout the series after judgment has been given. And through the course of this, we see Tom from London, who at this point, after judgment, his son is taking a deep breath and he's decided to tell his father all about who he is. And it's like, man, Tom can't get a break. And next, we see Katrina from Vancouver, who you may remember as the girl who didn't leave a tip. But in her case, she's not focused on the fact that she failed or even why, because that doesn't even matter now. But instead, she's taking the time to rush to the burning streets to help those in need, because like we'd seen in issue 2, she means well. But now it's like we've seen that she's learned that it's more about what you can do to help who you can. And just after her, we go to Kamali, the widowed wife of Arjun, and we see for her that she just waits. And next we head over to Daniela, who like we'd seen, she has dropped everything that she was doing to be with her mother. And her mother just struggles to figure out why everyone else hasn't done the same, and why many people are rioting and looting when the world's about to end, and those people may never get to use the things that they've taken. But amongst these different people, we also come across young Kenta from Yokohama, and the progenitor recognizes that young Kenta is scared, and the progenitor is sorry about that. But even after giving this judgment, the progenitor says the adults built a world for Kenta to live in. They built a world for him to die in too. And it's kind of like, man, I get it, but it's cold-blooded. But also amongst these people, we come across Jada, who like we'd seen before, she had lost her daughter, and the progenitor had acknowledged that her view of the world and understanding that people were upset but going about it wrong, that she essentially was right. And on the other hand, with Captain America hoping that people could be better, he was wrong. And right now in this very moment, Jada wishes that she was wrong. But she takes a moment to grab Cap some coffee, which on one hand has me thinking, you know, shout out to the coffee shop that's open on Judgment Day. But when this happens, it gives us a pretty cool moment with the conversation between the two of them. Because we see a bit of the vulnerability from Cap when he expresses that he actually thought that he could inspire people to make a difference. Though on the other hand with Jada, she knew the world was gonna fail, but she appreciates Cap trying. But it's here in this conversation where Cap asks Jada if she has any family, because she should probably be with them at a time like this. And she tells Cap more about herself, how she had lost her daughter, and ever since then she had just hated other people for existing. And in response, Cap tells her that it's not too late, she can still get out there. And right then she cuts off Cap and tells him he's doing it again, the whole inspiration thing. And he's kind of like, yeah, I guess he is, bad habit. And she lets him know more or less that it's not a bad habit, but it's just a good habit in a bad world. And it's here where Nightcrawler shows up and he tells Cap that everyone thinks that he should give this false god a piece of his mind. So Cap thanks Jada for the talk and he heads off with Nightcrawler, who bounce teleports Cap numerous times all the way to the North Pole. And with how this is done, Nightcrawler tells Captain America that Professor X is linking this moment to everyone in the world. So everyone's gonna see and hear this speech. So Nightcrawler more or less tells Cap, make it good. And in this moment, Captain America, he stands up to the progenitor and he tells him that he stood up to tyrants before who were sure that it was all over. and they were just as sure as the progenitor is. And Cap says that he was there in 1940 when the people thought it was over. And his hero says that heroism isn't about strength, it's about not giving in. And Cap says that it's not over as long as any of us are standing. And then it's here where he tells the world, knowing that they're listening, that we're all Avengers now. Assemble and avenge. And as soon as he says that, the progenitor then eviscerates him and Nightcrawler, but with doing so unintentionally making a martyr out of Captain America. But just moments after this, we then head back over to Krakoa, where of course Nightcrawler has to be filled back in about how exactly it went down. And it's here we start to see that there's a bit of intention behind this plan, because Jean tells them that the world got just what it needed, and their anger is now directed at the progenitor, which hints towards this being done intentionally, but we'll come back to that in a little bit. But also in this moment where Nightcrawler comes back, we also have like Wolverine checking on him, and I like how Karen Gillan kind of just throws us in, because I've always appreciated the friendship or brotherhood between Nightcrawler and Wolverine, where usually we see this thing where Wolverine, he respects Nightcrawler's religious beliefs, and I feel like that's kind of being played upon right here, with Nightcrawler saying that he rejects this god, or better yet, he rejects this parody of a god. And I'm glad that we got this moment, because to me, Nightcrawler and Wolverine have always been like brothers, where Wolverine is more physically and tougher and more protective of Nightcrawler, but on the flip side, Kurt is more emotionally protective of Logan. And I love it when we get those moments between the two of them. But then it's here we go over to the Grove in Krakoa, which is where we usually have the Quiet Council meet, but at this point in time, everyone's here. And Xavier lets them know that after Captain America's speech at the North Pole, that he's got messages and support from leaders around the world who are ready to lend their forces to whatever plans the heroes have moving forward. And I'm sure that's also partially because of the work that heroes had done traveling around and talking to leaders as well. But with the world leaders expressing that they're ready to deploy their military forces and stand behind whatever plan the heroes have, the heroes still got to come up with the details of the rest of the plan. And it's from here where Cyclops proposes that they go for the node, like we'd seen in issue 3, but this time evacuate the people from around who would have been casualties. And initially Tony's against it because he thinks it's a trick, but Jean lets Tony know that it was real and that's why they fell for it. But from here, with them setting out for the same target essentially, they approach it differently because the Eternals can't directly attack a Celestial, not without their principles kicking in. But now, since their psychic firewalls have been taken down, they could have another telepath control them and make them attack the Celestial. And not just Cersei and Icarus, but they could control the Hex as well. And when taking this route, Magic asks Destiny, okay, we do this, what are the chances? And Destiny says this is their only way, but modifications have to be made. And it's from here when we see what seems to be everybody heading to the North Pole. And amongst those heading out here, you have Avengers, X-Men, the Inhumans, and in the case of the Inhumans, they're being controlled by Jean Grey. But also in addition to this, you got military forces showing up from all around the world. And for the most part, this first wave is just military, followed by some of your smash and slash heroes until the Hex come in, because the Hex was designed to protect the Celestial from something that could kill a Celestial. And just after the Hex, the next wave of heavy hitters come in, with Captain Marvel, the Phoenix, Exodus, Icarus, Jean, and Namor, who then come in and stagger the progenitor, which is then followed by Thor, who brings the hammer down. But then it's in this moment where we find out from the progenitor that it had been holding back this whole time. And it's from here where it just gets nasty. Thor gets wasted, Exodus, Jean, Echo, all of them are just one shot. The Stepfords are just fried, and just about everyone else at the North Pole is killed in a number of different ways, with the progenitor attempting to be creative about it, which is also pretty messed up. But fortunately, Tony ends up hauling it and making it out of there alive. Barely. And globally, the destruction is nuts, with cities burning, the water turning to fire, and a group of rich people try to make an escape. And we're told that the people on this shuttle, they have more wealth than the people on Earth left behind combined. But the progenitor sees them and refuses to let them escape judgment. And from here moving forward, it gets absurd, because next we see Krakoa just going up in flames, with the progenitor saying no more mutants to suffer in a world of hatred and fear. Only your god is immortal. The Earth is not. To where from there we see Mystique and Destiny holding each other, going up in flames, Cyclops in the background not feeling so good. It's just all bad. And with the progenitor destroying the Earth puts up a fight. But the progenitor is set on thrashing this world into obedience, which in this case is death. But then it's here where we find what Destiny was talking about earlier, when she said that their plan to attack the progenitor needed modifications, because with them leaving certain people there, the progenitor would think that everybody had showed up, which for the most part was like your heavy hitters, RIP to all of them. But this is what takes us into the next phase of the plan, with the last one being the hammer approach, and this one being more the scalpel, because now they got their scientists and their psychics sitting back waiting, as they then bring in Jack of Knives to head back to the North Pole with a team so they can sneak in undetected. But of course, they do get detected, and Jack of Knives figures that if this is his last mission, 1, he doesn't want it to be a failure, and 2, he wants to make sure he goes out with a bang. And he does exactly that, as he buys him time, and seconds later he's just eviscerated. But it's here we find that back with the others, on the other side of this plan, they have a limited number of eggs, so they gotta be very selective about who they bring back. And when the selection is made, Exodus disagrees, and by all means he's of rank and he could stop this, because he says who they're about to bring back, it goes against everything, all the rules of Krakoa. And in this final moment, Nightcrawler says Cyclops is a great leader, but he's not who the Earth needs right now. And as soon as he says that, Captain America's shield just busts out of this egg, because they've resurrected Captain America by way of the 5, which was supposed to be exclusive to mutants. And as a side note, this reveal kind of leaves me with a bunch of questions. First and foremost, got me like, okay, you just gonna come out the egg with the shield, huh? Like, what's more American than that? But from here, we just gotta stick around and see where it goes. But what we do know at this point is that everybody is sharing everything, and everyone's working together. We just gotta wait and see if it's enough. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so we can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.